Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
My name is Adelaila Zahra from 7.4, and today I'd like to present my project that is having the title of Building a Characteristic of Independence that lead to independence from being conducive at madrasah or school. First, I'll start from the background, where in general, independence is a natural act of human that help them to survive and to adapt in a new environment, forcing yet naturally taught them to learn individually and to survive on it, which independent also mean that they're able to filter out the good and wrong, their obligation and their rights. They also have to be able to filter out their emotions and act maturely in a certain condition, especially in a certain community, where here we can take as this community as student at schools, and the community is the school's residents. Being able to be following school rules, also adapting to characteristic of independence, is by obeying it from our heart. We do not feel the pressure of it, and we understand that it's our duty, so we just does it every day without even noticing. That is the way to form an independence from ourselves, especially from following the school's rules. Here is the problem formulations, where it is how to build a character that lead to independence through obeying school rules, and the research objective is to know how to build a characteristic that lead to independence from following school rules. Here is my research design, as you see from the start of where I start this project and to the end. And then I'll start to move into discussion where I filter out some subjects or materials to fit my title. For starter, I'll start with science. In science, there's a study of physics called pressure, where here I'll connect it as when you do something that good enough or obeying your community rules, you'll gain less pressure that bring you down. But the more you disobey it and the more you do not follow it, you'll gain pressure such as shame and feeling of afraid and accepted by the society. We're here in pressure, in science literature, the bigger the area get, the smaller the pressure be. And the smaller the area turn to be, the bigger the pressure is. An area in here, I act as the goodness of our action of actually following these school rules. Where the more we follow it and the more we be obedient to it, the pressure we gain is lesser. And the more we disobey it, which the area gets smaller, the pressure that we gain is getting bigger. And it will impact to us and reflect it to us that other will dislike us, afraid of us, and we are known as troublemaker. And our image to society would be bad. And next we'll move on to social. This is quite a simple materials because in social there's called something as social institution, where its role is to lead and to control society in that community. Where in social institution there is also educational institution. And in educational institution they provide mentor, which we know as teacher. Their purpose is to lead students into being successful individuals, where they form ideals to help students understanding the materials better. These ideals is usually known as a way of learning to make it easier for children. And the more the students able to manage and reach the ideals of that teachers, these students will manage to move up or being successful, smart, and understanding the materials, their success and their grades. But the more they do not follow it and they do not understand it, they will fall back and unable to understand those of lessons. Which means that they also does not understanding their rule, their obligation of following those ideals or objective, which in a literal community, which is the school, I'll take this mentor as the school staff, where they provide rules, which I count as ideals to students so that they can follow it. It meant to taught themselves or the student to actually learn by themselves and filtering what is wrong, what is right, and how it will impact their life in their society community. That is where we can raise independence from the deepest of our heart and awareness. We'll move on to English, where usually independent are not supposed to be validated by others, but some people do like to take others as an example or a figure that they should have followed or avoid. They usually ask question of how can we reach this state, or how did our journey came to this. And that where the study of English came in handy, which is recontext. It tells on a past experience or a past occasion on everything on the past, and it is important for us to remember every details, or at least the simplest detail of our journey, so that we can tell it to others and to prove it that we have come from a very far journey to them, also giving them support to be better individuals. And this recontext acts as an unwritten documentary of our journey to help us remember how come we have gone through to reach this state. So it is important to actually remember our journey so that the society would not judge us and can actually set up an image that is appropriate to what have we done. And by remembering what we came on from all of the journey, we learn that how much our journey matters, and it teaches us to be independent. And lastly, it would have been conclusions. So independent taught us to be self-resilience and emotionally intelligent, respect ourselves by actually respecting our decisions without even thinking of what other will validate it about, because everything about independent is prioritizing what we think of it and doing us what we want by knowing what its action will cause to us and to others. And I have proven it by several discussions in science, socials, and English that everything about implementing or obeying school rules connect to building the characteristic of independence. And that would be all for me. Thank you a lot for your attention.
Thank you. It's a very good presentation. You prepared it well. So I have 4 questions for you. First is, how does conducive at school help students become more independent in their learning and daily responsibility activity?
Okay, so obeying school rules is actually what students must do, so it's their duty. And by realizing that it's their duty and how much it's benefit the schools and them, they'll understand how much useful it is. So they'll just naturally follow it, and that would naturally teach them on how to be independent.
And then if you be a leader of the class or a captain of the class, and you find that your friends still not conducive, what program that you can plan to your friends so that your class be more conducive?
I will tell them that all of the things, how much that their duty is and how following the school rules benefit them. So I'll give them some program that where you violated these rules, you'll resume all the consequences, and you must fix yourself to it in at least in the range of a week, and you should have learned in those weeks how much it impact your life and how much it ease up your life on school's area.
Do you think that it is a very effective way?
Well, it actually depends, but I think it is, since it helped them to learn but also understanding the consequences at the same time.
Do you have another way so that make it the best solution for them?
If it is allowed, I'd like to give out punishments. It's not too hard of the punishment, but it's also not that light of kind of punishment, where I would like to tell them to write on how much the bad impact of their action could have done and the good of following those rules. But I would like also give them physical consequences, just like when in my class, if we violate or not praying tahajjud to the following deadline, then we have to read Yasin. So I'd like to do that if it's allowed.
So the last question is, how can being conducive can shapes the students' independent character? How can being conducive shape students' independent character?
So, being conducive teach them on how to do things properly, and not all of the teachers usually guide the student one by one, but they still remind them. That should have been enough for a student to actually realize what they're supposed to do. They should also dig internally on how much it impacted them. That way, students will learn on how to do it naturally by also understanding the consequences, and that's how independence are formed. But usually, some students learn it in a hard way, where they violate the rules, they got the consequences, and they feel ashamed for it, and in the end, they decided to fix their actions.
Okay, thank you. You can close your presentation.
Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.